He was drafted 23rd overall in the 2015 NHL entry draft, is a two-time All-Star, was a member of the NHL's All-Rookie team in 2018, is eighth in Canucks history for goals scored, and most importantly, he is locked up for 7 more seasons with the Canucks after signing an extension on July 1st. He is Brock Boeser, and he joins us here on the Canucks Insider Podcast. Brock, congratulations, man. This is a pretty big day for you, and 7 more years with the Canucks. How does that sound to you?
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. It feels amazing, and it sounds great.
And I think what's got to be pretty exciting for you is like no more trade rumors, none of this going on. Like you must be pretty excited to just sit down and play some hockey for the Vancouver.
Yeah. I've signed a few bridge deals, so I'm kind of sick of those, and really prefer not to have another one. So, I'm just happy we could find common ground, and I felt like I wasn't asking for the world. I just wanted to try and find a fair deal, and a fair deal that will last for many years.
What's the biggest thing that excites you about this contract that you just signed? Because obviously 7 years is a long time, but you've already spent a long time here in Vancouver. So what is it about the 7-year deal that's most exciting?
Well, just the hockey side, I think, just looking at the team we have and the pieces that we have locked up. I think that's really important. Looking at the goalies, the D, some of the forwards we have locked up. I really like our pieces, and I think we're going to be competitive. And I really have a strong belief in this team. That's the big reason why I wanted to come back. And just from outside of hockey, just maybe finally buying a house there, not renting an apartment anymore, getting some more space, and just enjoying my time there.
I could probably imagine the dogs' tails are wagging a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of a yard.
Down an elevator a lot to take them out, hopefully.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, you've seen this Canucks team evolve so much over the years. Where do you feel good? Where do you feel best about this group right now going into the season that you guys are about to go upon?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about it. Like you look at, the goalie tandem, and with that, what we got now with Thatcher locked up with Lanks, and I think it's the best in the league. 2 goalies that can steal games night in and night out. So, that really excites me. And, I think the defense too, like looking at the D core, we have a lot of guys locked up, and, even getting Marcus last year, he was a huge addition to our team, and he's been great, and he's such a good guy, good leader. So, I think that's important. And, obviously up front, what we talk about, the forward group, I think we all feel we can be better, and, just individually and as a group. So that's something that we definitely have to focus on for next year.
That's got to be kind of exciting for a guy like you, right? Like that's you're kind of putting that on your own shoulders a little bit of wanting to be kind of one of those forwards that really steps up for this team. For you, how much of a challenge do you kind of like going into next season and knowing that you guys want to create more offense?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we all know like what happened last year, and all the drama and injuries and stuff. It was a tough year, but we can't make excuses. We looked at the D side of things, and you see the stats were really good, and then you look at the offense, and we weren't getting enough shots. We weren't creating enough. So, I think everyone's aware of that, even footy, and I just think it starts right when we come there in September, and we got to be ready to roll and be ready to work hard and work together.
Yeah, what was it like with footy when you I'm sure you guys have had a chat since he knew you were going to sign, or you knew you were going to sign. Like, have you chatted with him since then? What was that like? I'm sure he's pretty excited.
Yeah, we were talking before too, and he really expressed that he would like me back. That means a lot to me. To have a relationship like that where we can talk, and we can talk things out about what we thought wasn't good last year, and what needs to be better, and his ideas, and I think that's great. The open communication and just understanding each guy, and just understanding each guy and how they tick. I think that's really important, and I think that's one of his main things is he doesn't want to treat every single guy the same. I think you treat each guy based on how they are as an individual, and try and get the most out of them. So I think that's something that's really important, and he's talked about it. And he called me after, fired up, and we ended up texting. We thought the door was closed at one point, and it wasn't going to work out. So it's he's a big reason why I came back too.
I think it's interesting with Adam Foote, and just I don't know the way that he played, like the fights that he got in, the nose, everything that he's got going on. Like I think for him to have such put such an importance on relationships with players. Like I feel like just the way that he played. I thought he was just going to teach you guys all how to fight, throw big hits. But him coming in as the head coach for you guys and that relationship part being so big, I know that was a huge role that he played as the assistant coach. Do you think it has to be a little bit different now that he's the head coach? I think he's talked about this a little bit of like, he can't be all the buddy buddy all the time. He's going
Yeah,
to have some serious conversations with some guys.
for sure. And he did. I still feel like he did have those serious times last year where even as assistant coach, where he had to give it to us a little bit, and he did that. And obviously, he probably will have to do it more now as the head coach. But I definitely think he has that in him, and I definitely think he'll hold everyone accountable. And but I think he'll do it in the right way and make sure that you understand too.
That's awesome. For yourself, like you came in so young and were in the NHL and that great first game that you had against Minnesota. But now over the years you've grown and like Quinn has come in and become a captain. Petey's come in and he's a big part of this leadership group as well. For you guys, like specifically you three, like I still remember that one overtime that you three were on the ice together. And I think the play-by-play call was like, here's the future, folks, get used to it. And just for you to kind of see you guys grow up and look back this many years past, how cool is it for you three to kind of go through this journey together?
Yeah, it's awesome. We're best buddies, and we hang out off the ice and we do stuff together, and on the ice just to see those guys and how we've grown up and how our games have evolved and changed. It's interesting, but it's really cool and to be with those guys, it's awesome. And obviously, Quinn's game is so good, and he's so fun to watch, and that's so special. And then, I mean, if you ask Petey and I, we obviously both know that we need to be better for next year. So we're definitely aware of that.
What's it like sometimes on the bench when you see some of the stuff that Quinn does? Because like I see it from the press box and I'm just like, well, like for you guys on the bench, you're on camera all the time. Like you got to just like keep it calm, I guess.
I just say, I usually drop a F-bomb and just like, what the, like some of the stuff he does, it's just like, see ya. He turns the corner, guys chase him, and he's gone. It's like, gosh, I wish I could do that.
Yeah, it's pretty good that you don't have to be covering that guy at the point. I'll give you that for at least.
Oh, I try and practice every time. I even know sometimes what he's going to do, and he still beats me.
That's wild. Well, part of your game, Brock, that's really evolved over the past, I'd say 4 or 5 years here is like your play around the net, especially with a lot of these tip goals that you've scored on the power play. I'm kind of curious how you decided to make that a part of your game that you wanted to improve. And now I feel like it's one of your strengths, and specifically on the power play, but just like high tips and things like that. Like it feels like you were such a sniper coming into this league, but you added to your game. How did that all come about? And how do you kind of feel about what you've been able to do?
Well, I think it was just the way our power play evolved over the years. Like, when Millsy came in and with Bo in the middle and Petey's one-timer, like that was a deadly power play. And, I just couldn't play that spot then. Like, they needed me on the goal line. I was young and, didn't quite buy in fully. And that was just probably the immaturity of me being young for that playing that spot. And then I think when I bought in the year I scored 40 goals, I scored a ton of goals around the net. And, it's a place that, if you look at some of the top goal scorers, that's where they get all their goals is within, that 5-10 feet of the net. So, and then, our power play evolved again and then we were running it on the other side. So then I had to be in the middle. So, you just work on it and get those reps in. And Quinn's so good at finding me for that high tip goal too. I scored a bunch of those too. So, I think just working on it.
Yeah, we've seen you drop some happy F-bombs with some of the stuff that Quinn does on the power play as well. So that's been fun to watch.
Yeah.
For you, looking back at last year, like I know it was a difficult year and you guys wanted it to kind of play out differently, but I'm curious, like what was the best thing for this group about last season? Because I'm sure there had to be some positives that you guys are going to be able to build off of.
Yeah, I mean, like, what we did 2 years ago, like we knew we know we have that in us. We know we can play that way, play that hard-nosed way and, play really good structurally defensive, not give up much and play those tight games. And, even after everything that happened last year with injuries and all that stuff, other stuff that went on, to be a few points out of a playoff spot, you got to look at that as positive and you got to build off it, I think. I think we got to understand that we're not far off. We're right there. We like I talked about in the media session, like if we come together and, we're a tight-knit group and we play for each other each and every night, we're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point because I think a lot of people look at last year as such a a disappointing season. But like you said, like with all the injuries and everything you guys went through, I feel like the confidence is still there for this group. You guys don't have a
Yeah,
shattered confidence after last year, I see.
for sure. Like, Demmer was hurt most of the year, and at one point Quinn and Roney were both out. So like, it was there were challenges at times, and we tried to grind through it, and to be that close to the playoffs, it still sucks. Like it sucks not being in the playoffs. It sucks going home and watching playoffs, but you got to try and find the positives, and I think that's the positive we can build off this year.
And it's got to be kind of cool that you sign on the same day that Connor and Thatcher do. And obviously, Thatcher's been with you for so many years, and Connor as well, I guess, too. But what was it like with you three texting or calling each other yesterday when you guys are all signing together as a trio?
Yeah, I mean they were all over me for a few days, so. And Gar especially, he's one of my. They're both, some of my best buddies, and yeah, Gar was calling me a lot, and he was getting all over me to get back, and there were times I was like, dude, I don't think it's gonna happen. Like, we tried, and both sides have tried, and then the door felt shut, but and then there's a little crack at the end, and we made something work.
Yeah, what was that like? Like, can you walk me through just kind of what the emotions were like for you yesterday? Because I feel like you were ready to go free agent and see what happens. And then what was it
I
like just to go?
100% thought I was out the door, gone. I was trying to, get ready to pick a new spot, and my just so many thoughts coming through my head. What spot could possibly be the best option? What kind of deal was I going to get? Do I take if I get short-term or long-term offers? What should I take? Like, there's so much going in my head, and then they called my agent, and then it just it translated into finding a deal. So it was very shocking.
What was
And Gar was still in my ear while this was all going on.
I was gonna say, was he like part of the deal or what? He's on the three-way call.
No, he was all in my ear, just nonstop, just like man's gonna come back. They're gonna come back. Just give it some time.
Oh, I love it. Has he changed much since he's become a father? I feel like has that changed him at all?
No, not at all.
Who was the first person that you wanted to call when you did sign the deal and wanted to let them know that Vancouver was going to be the spot for the next 7 years?
Yeah, obviously, I called my mom, my grandma, and my brother. Just my immediate family members. I was next to my girlfriend, so she already knew. So, yeah, just letting them know right away.
Right on. What does your mom think of that? Because I've heard she's had some pretty fun trips out here in Vancouver.
Yeah, no, she's super excited, and she just wanted me to be happy, and I think that's the place where I'm going to be the most happy. And I just think it was meant to be. So,
yeah. Well, I just wanted to check. Like, I asked you about this in the media availability, but Vancouver fans, like, they've seen so much of this over you. Like, they've really enjoyed you as a Vancouver Canuck over the years. I'm curious, how much of stuff did you see online? Did you see all this? Because it really took over my timeline for sure. Just seeing how excited fans.
No, I haven't seen too much. I had too many texts and phone calls coming through. I had a headache from staring at my phone for too long yesterday.
But what does that mean to you? I mean, man, I saw hundreds of tweets and Instagram posts, and people so excited about you coming back to Vancouver because, kind of like you thought you were going to be heading somewhere else.
Yeah, it means a lot, and that's definitely a big reason why I wanted to come back. There's so much support, and I did run through the scenario in my head of different jerseys coming back into the building and not being on the right side of the hallway and being on the other side. So it was feeling weird, and everyone's a big reason why I wanted to come back, just the support system and everyone having my back out there. I just feel like I went through some tough times, up and down years, and everyone still has faith in me and believes in me.
Did you have that feeling in the last game at Rogers Arena, like, to kind of take it in the moment? Like, did you have that feeling at the time?
Yeah, not really. Like, I was trying to, but I couldn't get myself. Like, I just still, like, it still didn't feel like it was going to be the last game. But, then I was looking at it a few days ago. I'm like, wow, I guess it was my last game. So it's crazy how things changed.
Yeah, I guess you just knew back then that this last minute deal was going to come through.
I don't know. I guess I think it was just meant to be, and no one knew it until it happened.
So, Brock, what does the summer look like for you now? How's where you staying? What are you training like? And I do want to ask about Italy in a second. I saw some pictures. Looks like a great time.
Yeah.
But what's the rest of the summer look like for you here?
Yeah, just we got the 4th this weekend, so obviously that's a fun time just celebrating that. That's obviously big for Americans. Stetcher and his girlfriend are coming to town, and I haven't seen them in a bit, so that'll be fun. I'm in Stetcher's wedding later this month. Other than that, I got my girlfriend's family coming to visit too. So, just spending time with family and friends and trying to work hard and, try and get better.
That's awesome. Has it been tough adjusting to eating North American food again after being in Italy? Because I did my honeymoon there last year, and man, the first couple of weeks of eating non-Italian
So
food was a
good.
tough one.
Everyone talked about how good it is and how you don't feel crappy after, and they weren't wrong. You can eat and eat and eat out there, and you don't feel bad. So, yeah, it was definitely different, and I was so excited for that trip. I was looking forward to it forever. So we went to Italy and Croatia, and I swam. I felt like I swam almost every single day. So that was awesome.
That's awesome. I've heard a lot of people like Croatia's kind of a hot spot to travel over the past couple of years, but I don't know much about it. Like, what did you like about Croatia?
Yeah, my girlfriend's grandparents live out there. So not live out there. They live in Vancouver, but they go out there for a couple months in the summer. So we visited them, and then we were in Split and went island hopping on a boat one day, and that was so cool. We went to the Havar and the different places, and swam in the ocean and stuff. So it was a blast, and I enjoyed it a lot.
That's awesome to hear. I think what's been interesting too in your time as a Canuck is how you've evolved to be one of these guys of the leadership group. How much do you want to put more of that on your plate in the coming years here now that knowing you're locked up for so long?
Yeah, I think it's really important, and I think it's really important just identifying the culture that we want, and I feel like we did identify that 2 years ago on the type of team that we want to be, and I think we kind of lost it for a little bit last year. So I think getting back to that, and I think just as a leadership group, just making sure we're all committed to that and committing to holding each other accountable and pushing our group as hard as we can to be the best.
And I think one thing last year, and we touched on some positives from last year as well, but one thing I wanted to bring up was like all the young guys coming in. I guess this kind of ties into you being more of a leadership role. What did you think about some of the young guys that were able to come in and make a big impact for you guys? And how exciting is that for a player like yourself, kind of knowing that there's some young talent coming into this group?
Oh, I mean, it's awesome. You always want to have young guys that are, kicking for a spot and working hard and showing what they can do. And, just seeing what Abbotsford did is so cool. And, there's so many guys that worked hard all year, and we're with our team that went back down and grinded it out and won a championship. It's awesome. And, I'm super happy for those guys.
It's awesome. I guess as you kind of start to get set up for some of your summer skates, how's the setup going to look like for you this year? I know there's a lot of NHLers around where you're at.
Yeah. I still skate with the same group. There's probably like 10 to 12 of us. So we got a good group over there. And then we set up days for where we recruit other guys to come scrimmage and stuff. And then there's another, place that I skate at as 3-on-3 scrimmaging too with all NHL guys on a smaller rink. So that's fun too. And, just grinding in the gym as always. And, just excited to continue to push and get better.
When you're not grinding in the gym, what's the best show you've seen this summer?
I'm not even kidding. I don't think I've watched a show this summer. I've every time I get in bed, I have no juice to watch a show. I'm just ready to go to sleep. I'm getting to be old. I'm telling you, I get in bed at 8:30, 9 o'clock these days.
I was going to say, you're just enjoying too much of summer by the sounds of it. That sounds good.
Yeah,
The dogs probably keep you busy.
It's been hot here, so if I'm golfing, I like to golf. So I golfed a lot at the start of summer, but I haven't played in a few weeks now. So this is a time of the year where you don't get to golf as much. Hockey takes over and it goes from there.
I remember last year I saw you at the arena and you said you had an albatross last year, right?
Yeah, last year.
You had a double eagle. How crazy was that?
Oh yeah, that was crazy. Is on this golf trip with some of these hockey guys over in Wisconsin, and I was like 240 out, and I don't hit the ball far, but I hit the kind of low liner with my 3-wood, and it ran up this hill, and you couldn't see it, and it was going right over the pin, and just went over the slope. And the caddy goes, "Wow, that might have went in," because he's looking at the pin sheet. He's like, "Yeah, it's just over the hill, and it's right at it." And I was like, "Yeah, right. It's probably deep." And walked up there, saw a ball deep. I'm like, "See, it's deep every time." And then Mikey Anderson, the guy that plays for the Kings, he goes, "No, that's my ball." I'm like, look in the hole. I was like, "All right," and it was in there. I I was shocked. It was awesome.
That's gotta be a crazy. That's better than a hole in one. Like that's gotta be a
Oh
crazy
yeah,
celebration.
I was riding a high, and next hole was a par 3, and I was riding this high, and next thing you know, I just sculled one. Next tee shot.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I'm coming off my first time breaking 80, so I'm probably in the best mood I've ever been
you
in my
should be
life.
riding high with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Brock, appreciate you taking some time today and jumping on the pod. We'll wrap it up right there. But thanks so much for joining the Canucks Insider podcast, and we're excited to see the next 7 years with you as a Vancouver Canuck.
Awesome. Thank you so much.